Across the American heartland, a silent transformation is taking place, one that is reshaping the landscape and the lives of those who have long called it home. A quiet exodus is underway, as more and more farmers are forced to abandon the land that has sustained generations. In just the first half of 2025, an estimated 50,000 farmers have left their fields, a staggering number that signals a profound and growing crisis in rural America. These are not just statistics, they represent real people, families who have poured their lives into the soil and who form the backbone of the nation's food supply. The land they once cultivated now lies fallow, or is being sold off at auction, often to the highest bidder with no ties to the community. This mass departure is not the result of drought or flood, but a man-made catastrophe, one fueled by political decisions, shifting regulations, and a lack of support for those who feed the nation. While American farmers face mounting ruin, Canada's agricultural sector is booming, a direct result of different government policies on labor, immigration, and support for rural communities. As American farms wither under labor shortages, rising costs, and policy whiplash, Canadian farms are flourishing, their fields full and their communities thriving. The scale of this crisis is unprecedented in modern American history, with entire regions at risk of losing their agricultural identity. The issue extends far beyond the farm gate, threatening to disrupt the entire food supply chain, from the fields to the factories and, ultimately, to our tables. Consumers may soon feel the impact firsthand, through empty supermarket shelves, higher prices, and fewer choices at the grocery store. The great quitting of American farmers is a warning. The very foundations of the country's food security are cracking, and the consequences could be far-reaching. In this video, we'll explore the tangled web of economic, political, and social factors driving this crisis, and what urgent lessons must be learned if we hope to save American agriculture for future generations. In June 2025, a new wave of fear swept across America's farms, sending shockwaves through rural communities that depend on immigrant labor. The Trump administration began targeting farms and meatpacking plants with renewed immigration raids, intensifying enforcement in places that feed the nation. On June 11th, ICE agents arrested over 70 workers at a Nebraska meatpacking plant, with similar high-profile raids unfolding in California and other agricultural states. The message was clear: no one was safe, and the sense of vulnerability spread quickly among workers and their families. With 42% of all crop farm workers undocumented, the crackdown paralyzed the labor force, leaving fields eerily quiet and production lines stalled. In Texas's Rio Grande Valley, farmers reported a catastrophic collapse in their workforce, with many unable to find replacements for the missing laborers. Nick Billman, owner of Red River Farms, woke up to find he had 0 workers after news of local raids, his fields left untouched, and his harvest in jeopardy. The administration's messaging was contradictory. Trump acknowledged farmers' needs, but top officials insisted on zero tolerance, creating confusion and frustration. Workers now share videos of ICE vehicles, warning each other to stay home, and entire communities are gripped by anxiety and uncertainty. Some employers refuse agents without a warrant, but fear remains pervasive, and many workers simply disappear overnight. The result? A self-inflicted labor crisis with crops left to rot, food supply disruptions looming, and the future of American agriculture hanging in the balance. The labor crisis was compounded by a devastating blow from Washington. On his first day back in office, President Trump froze billions in agricultural funding, including the USDA's Farm Labor Stabilization and Protection Pilot Program. This program was a lifeline for farmers, offering legal pathways to hire seasonal workers and grants to offset costs. The freeze suspended $50 million in grants and stalled over 42,000 contracts, leaving farmers who had invested in new housing and equipment facing financial ruin. A court order later unfroze the grants, but the damage was done. Most farmers still hadn't received funds by late May. Meanwhile, a new Make Agriculture Great Again initiative proposed similar solutions to the very program that was frozen. For farmers drowning in debt, this felt like a cruel joke. The broken promises left a deep scar of mistrust and despair. Nowhere is the sense of betrayal more palpable than on J.J. Ficken's fourth-generation Colorado farm. A vocal Trump supporter, Ficken believed the pilot program would secure his family's future. He took out a high-interest loan and invested over $380,000 in equipment and housing, expecting a $200,000 federal grant. The executive order freezing the program pulled the rug out from under him, leaving him with massive debt and no support. The stress rippled through his family, already coping with a child's diabetes diagnosis. Ficken's story is a microcosm of the crisis family farms caught between economic necessity and unpredictable government policy. Despite the chaos, the Guatemalan worker he hired, Otto Vargas, eventually arrived after a 29-day delay. Ficken could finally begin work, but the financial hole remains. His experience is a stark warning about the real-world consequences of erratic policymaking. Decisions in Washington have devastating personal impacts on families hundreds of miles away. The crisis in American agriculture is about people, not just policy. Behind every statistic are real lives, families, and communities shaped by the land and the work they do. For every farmer facing bankruptcy, there's a farm worker living in fear. The uncertainty stretches from the farmhouse to the fields, touching everyone who depends on agriculture for their livelihood. Alexandra, a 55-year-old undocumented worker in Texas, became too frightened to leave home after seeing videos of ICE raids. She worries not just for herself but for her children and neighbors who all share the same sense of dread. The United Farm Workers Union reports a massive spike in fear and anxiety among its members. Many workers now avoid public spaces, and some are even afraid to seek medical care or report abuse. These workers, essential to the food supply, now face unbearable psychological stress. Their labor keeps grocery shelves stocked, yet their own futures feel more uncertain than ever. They must choose between earning a living and risking detention or deportation. Every day is a gamble, and the stakes are nothing less than their family's survival. On the other side is Otto Vargas, who followed the legal path to work on Ficken's farm, only to be delayed by bureaucratic chaos. His journey, filled with paperwork and uncertainty, is a reminder that even those who try to do everything right face obstacles. His story highlights the hurdles even legal workers face. The system is so complex that it often leaves people in limbo, waiting for answers that may never come. Farmers need a stable workforce. Workers need safe legal opportunities. Both sides are caught in a web of uncertainty, unable to plan for the future. Current policies fail both groups, creating instability for employers and terror for workers. The ripple effects are felt in every rural community, from empty fields to shuttered businesses. The human cost is measured in lost livelihoods, separated families, and a pervasive sense of insecurity. Children grow up with uncertainty, and communities struggle to hold themselves together. The relationship between the land and those who work it is being poisoned. Trust is eroding, and hope is fading for many who once saw farming as a path to a better life. The system is in crisis, and the voices from the fields are calling out for change. The labor shortage in American agriculture has been simmering for decades. Farms rely heavily on foreign-born labor, but the H-2A visa program covers only about 10% of the workforce. For most, the program is too expensive and bureaucratic, with costs reaching $39 per hour per worker. It's also strictly seasonal, making it unusable for year-round sectors like dairy. Dairy farmers are left with no legal options, forced to rely on a non-existent local labor pool or operate in a legal gray area. Demand for legal workers is rising, but the system can't keep up. In 2025, H-2A applications rose nearly 10%, a sign of growing desperation. Industry groups have pleaded for comprehensive immigration reform. Without it, the labor gap will only widen, pushing more farms toward collapse. Some argue these jobs should go to American workers, but farmers tell a different story. Finding local, American-born workers willing to do the demanding labor is nearly impossible. It's not just about wages, the work is physically punishing, with long hours and harsh conditions. Most new American hires quit within days, unaccustomed to the relentless pace. High turnover makes it impossible to build a reliable team. Many agricultural regions are rural, with too few locals to fill thousands of jobs during peak seasons. Generations have moved away from farm work, seeking less demanding jobs elsewhere. The reliance on foreign labor has been a feature of American agriculture for over a century. Farmers aren't avoiding hiring Americans, they're trying to survive. For many, the choice is between hiring a foreign worker or watching crops rot in the field. The labor gap is not a matter of preference, but of survival. While American agriculture is in crisis, Canada's sector is thriving. Farms are expanding, investments are rising, and optimism is high. This success is due to pragmatic government policies on labor and immigration. Canada's seasonal agricultural worker program is more efficient and user-friendly than the US system. The government partners with farming organizations to streamline the process and reduce red tape. Farmers get the workers they need when they need them. Canada also offers clearer pathways for temporary workers to gain permanent residency, creating stable rural communities. By treating guest workers as potential citizens, Canada has built a sustainable, humane system. As the U.S. loses farmland, Canada's agricultural land use and food exports are growing. The less insensible immigration policy is vital for a strong agricultural sector and food security. The United States stands at a crossroads. The future of its farms and food supply hangs in the balance. Aggressive immigration enforcement, broken promises, and a dysfunctional guest worker program have created an unsustainable crisis. If this continues, more farmers will quit, rural communities will decay, and reliance on imported food will grow. To pull back from the brink, the U.S. must learn from Canada's model. The first step: end the demonization of immigrant labor and create a workable, affordable guest worker program for all agricultural sectors. Policymakers must move beyond rhetoric and listen to farmers on the front lines. Trust must be restored through consistent, supportive action. Canada's pragmatic approach shows that partnering with farmers and providing legal pathways for labor creates a thriving industry. The future of the American harvest depends on which path the nation chooses.